What's up, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the firewall, where we discuss the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And LeVon Maynard.
What up?
What is going on? So, action-packed week. So, first episode, we discussed Peloton and a new vulnerability that was discovered. On Tuesday's episode, we discussed the 24-hour notice that infrastructure companies, government companies, just really large companies are going to have to start giving the government whenever they are breached. And there's a bipartisan bill that was passed, so please tune in that one. And then today, our discussion will be an AP article that I found that's AP hit by a ransomware attack, your payment may be deductible, which was written by the Associated Press, came out on the 19th. So we've been talking about it for weeks because of the Colonial Pipeline, and just the ransomware is just, I don't know, it's just what we deal with since COVID hit. They're just getting bigger, more bolder, and what have you. And then a couple of weeks ago, we saw the FBI was actually able to recover the money that, or at least some of the money that was taken from the Colonial Pipeline in ransom, as well as track down those ransomwares. So it's getting kind of hard out there for them. And now we're talking about how there's a bill that was passed, what's called bipartisan bill that was passed. We're going to start making companies report. So they have not said that they can't pay like some other countries have, where you can't pay a ransom. So they haven't gone that far, but they're building towards getting major government involvement. So please tune into that. And now this episode, we're talking about how they're reporting that your ransomware payment may be deductible. So they're not exactly saying what the percentage is. They kind of just go into just how much this is escalated, how the ransomware has gone up. I think it said 171% or something like that. Or the average payment was more than $310,000 last year, up 171% from 2019. So it's getting out of hand. And now the government is trying to get involved and trying to help people out. So again, they don't say how much of a deduction you can get. Like we talked about offline, like you usually don't get back what you put in, but you may get something back. I got to sneeze. Hold on 1 second. Try to hold it in.
That's all right. And let it out. Let it out. Don't fight.
It went back in there.
Oh, okay. Oh, dang, ran away from you.
Doesn't make for good radio, right? But how do you guys feel about this? How do you feel about the potential of deducting your ransomware payments as a business?
Yeah, so I for one think it's like it doesn't surprise me. I feel like companies would already kind of like, there's so many like tax loopholes, and companies know how to like spin the numbers around a little bit to lower their required contributions to the government. I think there's like a lot of like big companies out there that kind of know how to use, how to work, they probably already knew this, but I mean, the fact that maybe there'd be something more official by the government that says, hey, you've been hit by ransomware, fill in your number here in this checkbox, in this box here. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, even as a company and you get affected by ransomware and you give the ransom group some money to get your services back up, it's almost like you might even write it off as, oh, this was a donation, or this was we had lost in profit, like we lost this amount of money doing regular business. I know whatever way you want to spin it. I feel like these companies probably were already kind of trying to use that as a way to leverage some credit with their tax payments. But nonetheless, it's kind of interesting. I mean, as you mentioned, Ryan, I think it's kind of like it could potentially be like one of those things where it could kind of spin around. We were talking about how making payments to ransomware groups, making that illegal would be a good thing. But then the opposite side of it is kind of what this is, where, oh, you paid your money. Okay, don't worry. We'll give you a tax deduction on it, so that you don't have to worry about it affecting your company as much we'll give you some credit back. Which, I mean, to me, it kind of makes sense anyway. I mean, the fact that obviously the company did lose money. I mean, they shouldn't have to, the government shouldn't be charging them tax on money that they lost. But at the same time, it's like these, we talked about it before, but these companies need to be a little bit more secure. They need to be able to, we need to incentivize them not to pay this money and try to find ways to get around these hacks. And I guess in the same respect, the time that their operations are impacted and that they're down and they are losing money. I mean, you'd imagine that money as well is like, it's kind of like whether or not they lose, like they actually, obviously, I guess when the structure's down, they're not gaining any money. And so they obviously are not able to be taxed on that. I mean, they cannot be taxed on money that they don't make while right. The network's down. So I guess in that respect, it's also a little bit of a savings there in that, in a roundabout way. But nonetheless, I think it's overall, it's a good thing. It makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know if these companies, like these companies are already like, I don't know. I can't imagine a company not being aware of somehow spending the numbers that they're not getting. I can't imagine a company not being able to spend the numbers so that they can get a tax deduction on their yearly bill or whatever. But what you think about this, Shannon? You got some thoughts?
So for me, I'm like that horse from Ren and Stimpy, right? I'm like, no sir, I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, so here's the thing, and here's why, right? So, okay, the company is losing money, right? But that's us as consumers is what we're paying them for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're paying you to provide a service with the expectation of you having some type of security, right? So if the government is going to give them money back because you chose poor security or poor cybersecurity practices or didn't invest in cybersecurity, my money should not be going to relieve you of that burden. You know.
Oh, right. Because you're paying taxes and you're paying the company.
Exactly. So
okay.
I paid the company. Now I'm paying in taxes for you to get money back from money that was spent. You know what I'm saying? Like you should have done that. You should have done that right from the jump. You know what I mean? And this leaves the possibility of there being some type of insurance fraud, right? Like this is what people do, right? You have a failing business. You're like, okay, I need to get out of this. I'll just burn the business down, right? Claim the insurance is kind of what this is going to act as, right? And again, we don't know what they're going to get back, right? Like when it comes to Colonial Pipeline for the $5 million they paid or whatever it was, 4 point whatever million, like there's no guarantee that they'll get all of that back, right? Because like I know. When I do our taxes, like I don't get everything back. And again, I don't do it for the money. We had this conversation offline. I don't do it for the money to get the money back. You know what I mean? But there are some times
like the charitable donation.
Yeah, the charitable donations. Like you only get it caps at a certain limit. You know what I mean? No matter how much you give into it, like it's going to cap out. For these businesses, no. Like you need to do and be better. Is my like that's just my thinking behind it. I don't want to be paying you for that. I'm paying you twice, right?
Right.
I pay for your service. Do what you're supposed to. Because again, like you were speaking of with the incentive, LeVon. Like what is the incentive for them to actually do better, right? Because they'll run the math in their head, right? And they'll be like, okay, if we have to give up 10 million this year, right? They'll be like, okay, whatever. Like we have it. Like we'll take it out of profit, but we're gonna get money back from not paying anything into the system. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're paying more in the taxes now anyway, right? Like they got a big tax break with this last tax cut that came down. I digress. But like, yeah, I don't see taking on that burden because it's not for the betterment of everyone, right? Like and I know I'm in the minority here, right? Like I don't mind paying more in taxes for things that are for the betterment of a society. You know what I mean? That's not what this is. That's not what this money is going towards if I'm going to contribute more in taxes for this to happen. And how are they even tracking it, right? Like all this stuff is getting paid out in cryptocurrency to where it's like, how do they prove like, hey, I paid this much? I'm not familiar with it to know how they can actually say this is what I paid.
Well, maybe to be the mechanism we talked about last episode where when they report, they basically have to show the receipts. Like, hey, we were breached. We asked for your help. We could not get your help in time. We had to pay. Now we need you to give us back some of this money. So I'm kind of leaning towards Shannon. Like, just give them LifeLock. Anytime I get compromised, what do they give me? some some other credit reporting bureau stuff. Give them that so they can check their credits, make sure they're good.
And so let me add this too. Like, or for one, I just looked in the article. It does mention that companies have long been able to deduct losses for more traditional crimes such as robbery and embezzlement. So that it's kind of like the ransomware kind of goes along the same lines of those. But
so it's kind of like, just like an update, basically.
Yeah, it's like an update. It's like a digital version of their already existing kind of like deductibles, I suppose. But you know, and I want to make sure I'm completely understanding what's going on here too with the article. But so I don't think I'm not saying that we're going to pay the companies per se. They're just kind of like, you, instead of making $1 billion this year, you made, you know, 950 million. You report to the government, so now you are only taxed on that amount of money. Not like the government's going to give them money per se. Like, hey, we're going to hand you some dollar bills from our Scrooge McDuck bank to fund your losses for your Gotcha. It's just pretty much like you guys can deduct that from the amount of money that you made for the year. And I think that's kind of like a regular, you know, and that's kind of like a typical thing, especially for us, even as like if you invest in stocks and things like that. If your stock actually if you actually lose money on an investment that you made, obviously you don't get taxed on, you know, your initial investment. You actually can get credited for, you know, the amount of money that you lost in that investment. But I think that's pretty much what this is saying as well. So it's not like the government's going to be giving them money per se. So I guess the government may not receive as much money from the company that it would have before they got affected by the ransomware. But same respect, I guess it's something that they've already kind of been doing for a while for other crimes. So it's just kind of seems like more of an update to, like, I guess, modernize it with ransomware.
Yeah. But you think it will also come with them having to modernize their protections, right? So it went from stagecoaches to bank robberies to now ransomware. Like there's huge jumps between. There's stuff in between those. But in each one of those, they have to change their protection mechanisms, right? Like to be FDIC insured, you have to have certain structures built, both physical and digital, to protect people's money, or else that you're not insured, basically. So I guess it'll fall along those same lines. So maybe just tying up loose ends by updating this, which would make sense. So we kid and joke about these companies a lot, but you know they have feelings too.
right. They're not a bunch of fat cats on the yachts all the time, laughing at pork.
Unless they are, then give them LifeLock.
Right.
No more deductions.
Right, you get nothing.
I thought that was an interesting article. Like, so to my understanding, it has not happened yet. It is just something IRS is looking into. So, but we over here, we're like Nostradamus, right? Like, so for the past few weeks, we've been predicting stuff before it happens. So this most likely will go through.
Right, I think you're right.
It just makes sense. So as long as they think it through appropriately, so it's not an incentive for people, like Shannon said, to burn their businesses to the ground.
Right. Yeah. And same respect, if you get like audited and stuff like that, I imagine you would have to show some receipts, like you guys mentioned. You have to show that you actually lost this money through a ransomware attack. And I don't know however you show that, if you take some screenshots or something, or if you find some screenshot on the internet and say that was you, like, this is my, you know, this is when they attacked me. But I wanted to mention too that I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but you mentioned that the Colonial Pipeline had got their money back, and I can't remember if I mentioned this on the last podcast, but I just thought it's funny that got the money back, or got some of the Bitcoins back, but the Bitcoin has been dropping because of the for various reasons.
The value,
it's not the value. Yeah. And I can't remember if I mentioned it, but I mentioned it again. But I think it'd be funny if they were affected by this ransomware, they lost these Bitcoin money, and then by the time they got it back, the price of the Bitcoin had like skyrocketed. So they actually made money from the ransomware attack.
But I think they should get caught up. I don't know if companies have the same provisions as us. Like that would be windfall, right? Like, so I would get hit with a windfall tax.
Yeah.
If that happened to me, they'd be like, okay, well, we break off some of that money.
Yeah. They would tax that extra. You think they would have taxed that extra money that you got back from the the ransomware.
But companies are way smarter than we are because they're made up of multiple people.
Right. They got
They
teams of
figure out
lawyers.
how that money.
Yeah. You got teams of lawyers that figure out how to hide the money.
They'll figure it out. But yeah, right now it's dropping, like you said, crazy. Like all of mine are in the red, but that's just the way it goes. Like the whole point of the cryptocurrency was to not be traced, to be able to do what you want to do, decentralized banking, and FBI threw that back in our face. It was like, we found it. Like, how did you find it? So you're it's a feel good story where you're just like, I don't know if I like that.
Right.
Yeah,
you can't launder your money.
How'd you get these coins back? I can't launder my money no more.
Yeah, we don't.
We got to wait for people to forget, or for there to be some new progress on the blockchain for all those coins to go back up in value.
Right.
So
absolutely. Yeah.
But no, I thought this was a good article. Like, it's a good conversation. Thank you, LeVon. Thank you, Shannon, as always. If I get any good questions or any topics pop up, we will have a Ask Us SP episode this week. So I'm not going to guarantee it, but I would love to do it because they're fun. If you have something, please hit me up on the socials. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Hit the bell if you're on YouTube, or whatever mechanism gets you to seeing our latest and greatest. Share it to your nerdy friends. Hit us up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. And LeVon?
Yes, you can hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. So yeah, ask your questions. LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Twitter, IG, and TikTok. Like, give us something to talk about. So with that being said, stay safe, stay secure.
Take care.